This is Connecting the Journey.
Hey, well, welcome to Connecting the Journey. We're here with Myrick, one of our sales managers, and we're gonna get to know Myrick a little bit better. We were just joking before we started. We came up with a nickname for him of Mindset Myrick, but that's honestly one of the things that stood out as I've got to know Myrick over the years is that he has a positive mindset. He looks at things differently, and to be someone at such a young age, man, that's impressive. So that had to come from somewhere. So we're gonna dig in and figure out where that came from. So welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's awesome. I'm
excited to talk with you too, man. When we set this up, I was like, I think this is gonna be a good chat. So I don't know if that nickname's gonna stick, but
I think it is. We can make it stick.
I mean, I think what did I say? Monday Mindset with Myrick. I mean, you should have a little something that goes out to the team every Monday. I think so.
Right.
I like it. But no, all seriously, man. I mean, just get to know you, get to understand the way you think, and just you do have a different take on life and different take on a mindset than most people your age. So, where'd you grow up? Like, where do you think that came from? But where'd you start your life just 24 years ago?
Short 24 years, yeah. No, so I grew up in San Antonio. So I was born in San Antonio, and still got a bunch of family down there. And then, shortly after San Antonio, we moved to McKinney in Dallas or whatnot.
How old were you when you moved?
I was in fifth grade. I'm not sure the age,
okay,
but I was in fifth grade or so. And so moved to Dallas, and I have some family in Dallas as well at the time. And so, some cousins and stuff like that. And so got to Dallas, and then we kind of lived in McKinney, and then moved to Wiley, Texas soon after that. And so then that's kind of where I went to high school, and that was kind of like where I grew up, per se.
Yeah, middle school was in McKinney, and then you started high school in Wiley.
Went to intermediate school and high school and junior high and stuff like that in Wiley. And so grew up there, and that's kind of where my parents bought a house, and we kind of I was able to make some friends and get actual long timelines and stuff like that. Grew up with them, hang out with them and their families and so on.
What were your parents like?
Yeah, my parents.
Yeah.
So my parents, my mom, she's really the one I feel like personally, that I get kind of like that ambitious work ethic, hyper active, hyper, career driven and that type of mindset or whatnot, or at least that feeling that I have. I think that's kind of where I got a lot of that from. She's really, she's just like that in that sense. And she's really, hyper focused and active and always charismatic, the one talking in the room, and, you want to have her at a dinner or birthday party or something like that. And so she's also very, strict, right? So, when I was growing up, so
sure.
She was, she was a person that made sure I had to make my bed every day, had to make sure, had a bedtime, early on, in middle school and stuff like that.
You can't just be the happy-go-lucky person and then not be strict, Then you're just, I don't know, but you got to have something to back that up, And brothers, sisters?
Yeah, so I have two younger brothers and one younger sister, and their ages, that's going to be a hard thing for me to say. They're younger than me. I'm not sure how old they are exactly. That's maybe a bad thing, but we got one in high school. The other one's getting into high school. The other one is in middle school, maybe 1 or 2 years away.
Okay, nice. And they're in Wiley still.
So actually, my parents, they live in Rockwall Heath now, and so they're gonna.
Okay, great area out there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area, and so.
So your mom you think your mom kind of instilled that in you, that positive attitude, that a different mindset, that work ethic,
structure.
Yeah.
Like she had a really, I think really impactful with the structure and the processes, and having that be a big part of your life. And early on, I was, I could tell I go to friends' houses, and they got not as many rules as I do, right? So it was really cool to go to other friends' houses and be kind of embraced in what they do every day. They can stay up late, they can do this, stuff like that. And so it wasn't until high school where eventually, my parents, or my mom specifically, was less lenient on it.
Yeah. When did you appreciate it? Like, when did you appreciate that? I'm selfishly asking that question for me because my kids are 12 and 13, and so they're they're starting to buck the system and buck the structure, and
Yeah.
you know, you want to be lenient, you want to give them freedom, you want to trust them in the snap, but you know, if there's not structure, then you know it doesn't work. And that's my wife. That's definitely not me. My wife, she, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, she said last night it's like, you can put the kids to bed. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll go down. It's like, hey guys, it's time to go to bed. I'm like, turn your lights on, go to bed. And I come upstairs and she's like, they're not in bed. Like, what'd you do to put them in bed? I said, oh, I told them to go to bed. Like, you know, I'm like, I got to trust them to do what they do. She's like, no, you turn the lights off, shut the door, like make sure their butts in bed, you know? But yes, I just wonder when they appreciate that. When do you think that kind of was an aha? Like when you went to your friend's house and you saw they got to do everything, you know, did that make you feel good, or that piss you off?
Well, it made me feel good in that I can experience it somewhere, right? And then, I bring it back home. You know, it was interesting. It's a good question on when I started to appreciate. I definitely didn't start to appreciate it until I got to, probably college or maybe when I got my first like real sales job at State Farm. It was like junior year of high school. I was 16, and I got that. And we can go into that later, but when I started, kind of doing my thing more independent, that's when I started to realize that a lot of that structure and process that was in place, I was kind of doing those things naturally, and it really helped me.
And you saw people that didn't have that upbringing, they're struggling to put themselves around that process.
Like, have a lot of that, but I also, it was very interesting, to this day I see this, but a lot of people are really just not conscious of it either. I feel like, it's not even something that they're intentionally trying to avoid or not. It's just never kind of really been built in or instilled, And so, super thankful to have kind of that structure and, processes and things that I have to do. Sundays I have to clean, the house, do chores and things like that. I had to kind of come inside from playing at a certain time, things like that. And so all that kind of built up, and then I started to get independent, and I found out that I needed to maintain a lot of that structure and actually put more focus on it, because that was what would help me get through, different hard times, stressful times. I would just start honing in on my structure, my processes, and what can I do to streamline, my day to day? What can I do to streamline, make my life less stressful?
Well, I'm gonna tell Andrew, thanks to you that he's getting everything locked down. So time to lock him down. He's my daughter's more the structure type, and he is not, and it's a good point. Like when he always gets stuff done, but he hits the real world, it's gonna be tough for him. But yeah, it's always funny to look back and go like, where'd you learn that from? And so it sounds like your mom was this planner. So you said you started working at State Farm at your junior year in high school?
Yeah. So yes.
Do you know somebody there? Did you sign off on 15 years old working in the sales?
Because I couldn't get my insurance license, or maybe I was 17 going on 18. I'm not sure, because whatever the age is to get your license,
yeah,
get just yet.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I remember watching a movie. I forgot what movie it was. I think it was Limitless. It's with Bradley.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. So I found those pills. Looking for them.
That's pretty much it. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But no. So I found, and it was just the successful story in there is kind of what I liked or whatnot. It was intriguing as a young person. I was, during the summer of like junior year or something like that, I watched it. And so essentially I was just wanting to get a sales job because I kept watching YouTube videos, and I was like, how to start a business and how to do things, and, different ways to be successful, things to work on. And everyone kept saying communication skills, sales skills, the ability to, get your foot in the door in different places. And if you have that skill locked down, then it's easy for you to always find money. It's easy for you to always, find some form of financial stability.
Yep.
And if you have that, it's a hard skill to develop. So anyways.
And not to be critical, but of your generation.
Yeah.
If you have that skill, you really stand out. And I think that's, probably your generation and on. Just, it's amazing. So many kids that my son would interact with, and they just cannot hold a conversation, And so, yeah, so it is fun it's fun it's fun to see that contrast with our kids, but I think in general we're going to have some issues with. I had a dinner last night with um, some partners from Ernest and Young, and we talked about that, like just the new, they're really big on recruiting people from college with great people, but like just the mindset and just the basic soft skills that they don't have coming into the workforce today is a huge challenge. I mean, they spend a lot of time investing in that, but I think just in this next generation, it's going to be tough. And if you focus on that when you're younger, you're going to stand out big time.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I see, like even with my siblings as well, I kind of see that, as well. Like they're all on their phones and they come in to greet people and they're kind of, a little shy and they're on their phones the whole time and they kind of put it away. Or one of the parents says, "Sam, put your phone away, start talking," right? Talk to people. No, absolutely. I completely agree. And so, yeah, for me, so essentially I wanted to learn sales. So one day, literally outside, it was, school was out. I was walking, to my car and, I looked up State Farm near me because one of my buddies actually, his brother owned a State Farm. And so I just remember that in passing and that he was talking about hopefully his brother can get him a little sales job and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, well, let me call State Farm branch and see, because the independent branches, not like the corporate. And so one of the quick shout out, Jared Rush, State Farm Jared Rush and Wiley. I gave his a call because this is the first one that popped up. And then so one of the sales managers answered and was like, hello. And I was like, hey, my name is Myrick. I'm a high school student. I'm looking for sales experience and I want to see if I can have an interview or if you guys are hiring and if I can kind of go through that process. I think I was like, hold on. So he kept me on hold the whole time and I'm in my car. My, heart is racing and he came back and was like, yeah, can you come right now? And I was like, absolutely. Yeah, I can come right now. So I went and then I met with the sales manager and then I met the owner of the agency, Jared Rush. And they interviewed me and, basically they would have to kind of find a spot for me because everyone else sold insurance. And I was too young for that. So eventually, he was like, all right, well, I'll get back to you and, see if we can find a spot. If we can do anything and see kind of if we can build a position for you to help the other salespeople, in other words. And so, I went home, psyched and told my parents about it and everything like that. My mom was worried that they were going to take advantage of me as a young kid. And I'm like, mad at her because I'm like, no, this is big.
It's no problem. Let them take advantage of it. It's fine. She's trying to learn.
I get to say worked at State Farm or whatnot, and so
let me just back up. So that's one of those. I think that's one of those nuggets, right? Because I think the interesting thing there is that you took action. Like you said, I'm gonna Google. I'm gonna call right now. I didn't wait. Didn't prepare. You just winged it. Right? You just called and you had the confidence to do that. And most people either don't have the confidence, but they second guess themselves and they don't just do it. There's been so many times in business, just things like just something will pop in my head and like, it's not perfect. It's not maybe the most professional thing. I'll text people randomly, but it's on my mind. And you got to do it. You have to take action because it's gone out of your head and you're going to second guess. You're going to think too much of it. And there's so many examples of that, of just doing it. I think that's one thing that's lacked is just the action of doing it, but also not letting perfection get in the way.
Yeah. One thing that I like, I forgot where I read this, it was in a book somewhere, but action cures anxiety.
Yeah.
And obviously, yeah, it's kind of a metaphor and it's kind of a broad one, but that's what helps me sometimes just to do something,
Small, simple things just to get the momentum going. So how long did you work at State Farm?
Yeah, so I eventually, he called me up that same day, and then I got the job, and essentially I worked there from I think it was like junior year, I believe. I had a car, I was 16, 17 or something, and then all the way through high school for the rest of the time. And so
what a great experience. So like you could be flipping burgers or you could be selling insurance.
I actually did flip burgers too.
Yeah,
I did flip burgers, but I worked at In-N-Out Burger.
Okay.
At the same time, while I was working at State Farm, because In-N-Out Burger was paying like $13, $12 at the time, which was unheard of. And
California company.
It was the California wages, and so, but I worked there like once a week just for extra money on the side during high school.
Why are the fries so bad?
The fries are amazing. You just got to get them right.
They're horrible.
Animal style
But is it the fry well? Because they're soggy. Like, the good thing is when I go there, I don't get fries. That's the only positive thing. Animal style, well done.
yes, absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try it out, but I don't get the California fries. I mean, they compete with Whataburger, so
It's all fresh too.
yeah. No, the burgers are great. Just don't understand the fries. So learned a lot at State Farm. So you stayed there until you graduated.
Right.
Right.
I stayed there.
Got your license, and we're actually selling insurance, or no?
Like refinances. I never got the license because that could have taken a little longer, and I was like getting ready for college and stuff. What I did though is I was basically a canvasser, so I was
Okay, so there we go.
calling a bunch of lists, $100, $150 a day, and basically trying to find people to refinance that need to refinance or they want to shop their car insurance again. And so then I, live transfer these individuals after I pique their interest to the salespeople. And so I was running around, one of my favorite things I used to do is after I get someone and I transfer it, I would put my stuff down, I'd go into that person's office and just sit there and listen. It's how are they selling? What are they doing? Because my thought was I'll eventually end up doing this, and so, but it was amazing. It's a great experience. And then Jared taught me a lot as well. He was one of my first mentors in there. He's taught me a lot about sales, business. I'd see the way he runs sales meetings, the way he would kind of get everybody and tell people, look, we're here to work and make it happen, and get a little uncomfortable sometimes, which was like such a great experience.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's a great experience. I mean, you learned so much more. It set you up for college, but you wouldn't have had that if you didn't have the confidence to pick up the phone and call. I mean, that's awesome. So where'd you go to college at?
UNT.
Okay.
So, come in agreeing with you.
Yeah.
UNT. And so,
side note, the tomato's coming back. Yeah, I didn't even know anything about the tomato. The tomato was dead while you were gone, while you were there. So the tomato, the best pizza in Texas, is coming back in the form of a food truck. So next time you go, you should probably check. Completely random fact about Denton, but if anybody out there knows what the tomato is, you'll appreciate that story. Yeah. So good business degree there, and
yeah. So I'm actually still pursuing that, right?
Okay.
So I've been full time and working since I was 16. So I prioritized work, and working full time all through college, more than college. I still have a good GPA and stuff like that, but I'm only taking like 1 or 2 classes, 3 classes sometimes a semester.
So you didn't take a vacation after high school?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, just went there and then got a job, but
I saw a great clip. This mom was going back and forth with Eddie V on her, and he's like, "Are you gonna send your kid to college?" Absolutely, my kid's going to college. Is that? He's like, "Enjoy a 4-year vacation, bro."
well, from there, absolutely.
Yeah.
For my first semester, but that was like, all right, I got to start making money and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good. I always had a job when I went through college. I mean, you do both. I learned way more outside the classroom than I ever did inside the classroom. There's not one thing that I can think of that I learned in the classroom that I use today.
Nothing. I had one good class, and it was a night class that started at 9:00, and it was a real estate class just for credit, and it was really nothing about real estate, but it was a professor that was a real estate agent his primary job was real estate agent.
Yeah.
And he's just taught the whole class of just about life advice and life experiences and, buying a home and what to do and, lawyers. And he brought 2 lawyers in and he had both of them debate for a prenup and then the other one for not having a prenup, for
Nice.
so on. And it was the best class I've ever done. And it had nothing to do with real estate really. And it had nothing that, to do with school and curriculum. It was just experience. And
yeah, my better classes came later in college when there was more theory. And I guess I had a lot of takeaways. So I had a minor in mediation negotiation. So just dealing with people. So, but yeah, I think, for my kids, I definitely want them to work, or my thought is that you go, take a little bit of time off, figure out what you want to do, and go find the baddest person in the industry, and go pay them to work for them. I'm gonna pay you to work for me, to work for you, right? Instead of going to college, that's what I'm gonna do.
You'll learn that tremendous.
and relative real time things, but there's a lot of social things you learn in college that you don't learn, but you learn that in the real world.
That's, yeah, for sure. That's a big thing.
Yeah. So how'd you find us?
Yeah. So I was working at the general construction company in college. And so.
You were doing, those hands look really soft.
Oh, yeah, I was knocking doors.
Okay, got it. Okay. Let's clear that up. Okay. I thought you had a hammer in your hand. So, okay.
I had to climb the ladder and get on the roof stuff.
Okay.
To do the roof inspection. So I was knocking doors, and that was my second.
Selling roofs, basically? Ooh, that's a good one.
And so I was knocking doors. I did that for like a year, I think. But that's another, one thing like that I try to tell people, especially my friends, because a lot of my friends are finally graduating college right now, and they're all looking for jobs, right? And it's weird. It's like they're all getting sales jobs. Funny how that works. So all of them are getting account management, sales jobs, and like, you guys should just done this in the beginning, like I told you to do. But anyways, they're all asking me like, how do I interview, or where should I apply, and things of that nature. And so, and they all send me jobs like, should I apply here? Should I apply here? I'm like, dude, I tell them you should apply to jobs you can't get. That's what I tell them. And so what I mean by that is apply to the jobs that you really don't have the experience for on paper and what they're asking for, but just see what happens. Because that's all I did. With State Farm, I called them, and I had no business talking to State Farm and asking for a job at 16 or whatnot, 17. And same thing with the general construction company. These guys are making, $300,000, $400,000 a year, knocking doors, hitting roofs. I also didn't know the industry. So, I get there, and these are all double my age, really successful, hyper competitive people, and I'm like embraced in this sales, culture. I'm like, oh man, this is like the real deal, and I just started knocking doors and getting leads for the salespeople, and I did that same thing. And then eventually, my boss came to me and was like, hey, we want you to sell your own deals. And this is like my second semester of college. And I was like, all right, well, what does that entail? And so it was a base salary, uncapped commission, company truck, a company gas card. And I was like, oh man, like this is insane, like life changing.
Yeah. Chasing the hill, chasing the storms.
Chasing the storms.
Yeah.
Luckily, this company was like really, really good, and they were kind of the better general construction companies in the industry. But yeah, so that's what I was doing, knocking doors. And then I did that for like a year, and then I became, after like 8 months of selling my own stuff, I asked to have a team of canvassers underneath me and become like an area sales manager or whatnot. And so I was in charge of kind of going out there, finding my own, interviewing and my own canvassers to knock doors for me and then get my leads. And so
yeah. So knocking doors, that's a different deal than calling on the phone cold. I mean, you're going to talk about mindset. Like, what'd you learn? What'd you take away from that experience?
That's a great question.
I mean, selling roofs. I mean, I get it. You're not selling insurance to a door, which would be real bad, or pest control. And, roofs a little bit different, but sure you had, I'm sure, your fair share of doors slammed in your face.
Yeah, definitely there's a good amount of door slamming. Actually, the majority of the time, what I found is a lot of people, and my bosses really didn't know how this would work out either, but about me being young, because I looked, people make fun of me right now, I look really young, but back then, I can only imagine.
24, right? You made that clear when we started. Okay, 24.
Back then, I can only imagine how much younger I looked at the door knocking and asking to inspect someone's roof. And so, I think it actually helped me though.
Probably starting.
I was starting to win sales competitions, and I was making it happen. So I think it was helpful because, and we were not the type of company that I work for. We only knocked like really, more of the bigger houses, 500,000 plus or whatnot in those neighborhoods. And so, it was a different kind of clientele, I guess. But either way, like what I experienced is a lot of them kind of respected the door knocking. And the fact that I was young and I was like, this guy will be selling me a roof in my living room, and so that's what I started to do. And it was super scary. Like my first deal, I remember getting a pen out and started to show this guy stuff, and I'm shaking. And, it was super, I was like, I'm definitely gonna, this guy's gonna get me out of his house. Like he's probably scared about me getting this guy's roof, He's like, what is this guy doing? But he walked, he helped, or he allowed me to go through with it, and I remember the first deal that I closed my own. Yeah.
Nice.
But it was going back to your point, like I learned a lot about just talking to people, and that people are really not, they're much easier to talk to than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I got to. And even these, like people want to help others,
Right.
and jobs, especially if they're seeing that you're coming from a place of true value, and you're sitting here and you're just trying to actually help someone and walk them through the, the structure of whatever you're trying to sell, or your message you're trying to convey. People like that, and I was energized and, confident and ambitious, and I think they fed off that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think, seeing a young kid out there hustling, going to give, most successful people are going to give a guy a chance, because you're right. They want to give back. They want to give that, that law of reciprocity. They want to give back. So after the roof job, you came to utility concierge?
So I came to utility concierge, after that, and then, got an interview. And then I remember I came in and got interviewed by a couple people, and then, or I think it was three different interviews. And then they asked me that day if I wanted to start, because we had a starting class, tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And, so that's.
What was your first impression? So, I mean, you went from, didn't have a lot of experience, didn't have a lot of jobs, but, State Farm, very corporate, probably structured, roofing, kind of very hardcore sales, and then you see us. So what was your first impressions of utility concierge?
So first time like in a true office, because even in roofing, we were like smaller, and it was kind of like but yeah, this one was like true office, and State Farm was kind of like a home building as well, because it was kind of it was super modern looking in there. And, that's such a great question, because I remember walking in, Kayla was interviewing me, and I was walking in, and she's giving me a tour before my interview, and I'm just seeing all the empty desks, at the time that we had, and MD offices, and if that
is in the 6th floor. Yeah. It
was right at the 6th floor.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I thought was like, there's like so much growth that's taking place, that's about to take place, and there's so
why do they have a whole floor and they have no one here?
That, the thing is, exactly. And but the sales team, there was one manager at the time, and I'm like, they're going to need more managers,
Right.
they're going to need more, this and that. And so I was super motivated just by seeing like the empty offices. In my head, that was a metaphor of like, there's more growth to be had, and there's opportunity.
Yeah. So you spent not a ton of time just in the concierge role, right? I mean, so you were very successful in the concierge role, and then we started hiring, kind of sales managers. But tell me about, getting back to mindset a little bit. What do you think? What type of mindset does it take for someone to come and do this role as a concierge, right? You're calling someone that if we like to say the leads are warm to hot, right? But at the end of the day, they may not know you. They may not know, they maybe never heard of utility concierge, because we're very, I don't want to say new concept, we're 13 years old, but I mean, it's not readily available to the public. What's the challenge, and what mindset do you have to have making those calls?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think attitude is everything when it comes to sales. Going back to your point of mindset, like coming in with the attitude of, first off, what's your goal, right? Do you want to be a concierge the whole entire time? Do you want to prove to yourself and the people around you that you can do really well at this job, and use this as a stepping stone to leadership or a different avenue in the company? And so I like to just start with the goal and have that mindset, carve that out for yourself, even if it's a small one. I just want to hit $30,000 in ordered revenue, or I want to hit a certain milestone, income wise, right? And so, or I want to be top 5 on my personal team, right, with my sales team, or something like that.
Just got to have a goal. Yeah. If you don't, then anywhere's good enough.
Just hope I do well, and hope I'm a good salesperson. Yeah, it just hope isn't a strategy. Everyone, we talk about that a lot. And so, mindset wise, being extremely focused on asking questions. Like some of the best salespeople, especially on my team, but in the organization, from what I can tell at least, they're constantly worried about tweaking stuff still. The top producers every day, they're asking managers in the office, questions nonstop, right? And even after they get a call, and they've done it a million times over, they're like, hey, so this person said this on the phone, and I didn't know if I handled this right. Ashley Britton, she does that. There's people on my team, Chris Johnson, Samantha Paradise Taylor. These individuals are constantly still asking questions and wondering how to tweak stuff, right? Real time too. They're not waiting to our next one-on-one. They're not, waiting until the next big meeting or call coaching. They're wanting to get more real-time feedback, and they're proactive in that approach.
Yeah. Always learning, right? Curious, asking questions, always tweaking, and asking. I mean, I think asking questions of their managers or team, but I think the good people ask questions of their customers. I mean, that's the best place to get feedback from. I think we do a good job of allowing that feedback. Because if you ask the questions, you're going to get an answer. You're going to get the same answer. You're going to get a different answer. You're going to learn something. And so if you're learning it from your customers or your teammates, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, absolutely. Questions that's ammunition in sales. Questions is everything that how to help the customer. Sometimes the customer tells you what they really need without them directly telling you.
Yeah.
Right? Questions are everything. So the other thing, and this is one of our core values, but the ability to take past experiences, but not letting those past experiences dictate what you're going to learn at this company, what you're going to learn in our sales process. We see it from time and time again where we have really successful salespeople come to the organization, and they sometimes struggle with our processes and the way we do things, and just our sales, in general. And it's not so much our process; it's more of they're taking these preconceived notions of other industries and other sales experience they have, and they're trying to apply it constantly to our stuff.
Yeah. And
without just letting our stuff kind of breathe a bit, and seeing how that works first. And so being humble in the process of, trying to follow some stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely a sales organization, but, I think we sell through our service, and you're not giving the service first, and you're never going to be able to sell it. Right. And you want the salespeople that have the hardcore work ethic, but not the hardcore sales tactics, because we're not selling anything. I mean, we're selling utility concierge. That's the biggest thing we got to sell. Right. And if you sell that, then they'll, you get them what they need, and you move on. Right. I mean, it's a lot easier. I think one of the biggest things is that people overcomplicate it. Right. They have 2 ears and one mouth, and they use their mouth more than their ears. Right. Just listen to the customer and then, and feed off of that. But, it's a learning curve, but I think the good folks are like I said, they take the breaks, they let it breathe, they listen, they ask the right questions, and it's not rocket science. We're just trying to figure out what's best for the customers and make them happy.
100%. We're free service, and I tell my team a lot. It's like people are like, no, I got this objection, and it's like, okay, let's listen to it. We listened to it, and then I was like, so they asked a question right here, and you just call it that an objection. I was like, that was a simple question. They just didn't know what they don't know yet. The customer doesn't really know, and they're asking a question. We got to get that logical response to them, and
it's probably a great question too. Just like teed up a great answer.
How much does this cost? Or okay, well, do I need that and this as well? And it's like, and then people get shaky, and then they kind of lose balance there. But it's like, hey, just treat that like a question. It's a puzzle.
Yeah, and answer them honestly, truthful, and with integrity. I mean, it's not like there's anything to hide. So that's the other great thing I think about our process, that we're just helping, right? There's not an ulterior motive. Like, we don't care what you get as long as you get what fits your needs. And if you need to make it, upgrade it later, then you can always do that. We'll be here for you.
We're concierge. That's really it.
So how's it been? How's your team doing? How's it been being in your manager role? What's the challenges you've had to overcome?
Well, it's been amazing. I've always wanted to be, naturally I was kind of like the leader of my friend group, in the sense like, kind of being in the front and going to places and helping others or whatnot. And I took a lot from my friends as well, being they're more relaxed, personable, and I'm more of like a aggressive, want to be hyper focused. And I learn from them all the time to take a break, and sit down a bit sometimes. So that's why I love my friends. But so coming from that, I wanted to always be in a leadership position. And when the sales manager position, I was a team captain for a year, so I had a full-time sales goal, and it was a large goal, and Ryan would not adjust it. So
rightfully so.
I had a full-time sales goal. While I was doing the team, I was running a team of like 6, junior concierges and whatnot. And so did that for a year, and that was a lot of work. And I think without that, I would not have the ability to do the sales manager position at the level that I've been able to do it, because of how much work that was battling both. And so it's been a great position. I've learned so much. And again, it goes into just being in the rear.
Yeah.
Like one thing I tell this, to people that ask me sometimes, like, well, why do you do this? Why are you trying to go so fast? And I'm just chasing experience is what I really like. I've always chased experience. It started from State Farm. I never thought I was gonna make a lot of money at State Farm because I figured they were giving me no position at all.
Yeah.
But the reason why I picked up the phone is because I wanted the sales experience, not the sales money or anything like that. And so I've just been staying true to that and letting that be my North Star, is just chasing experience. So going back to leadership position, I'm able to be in the rooms now with people like you, like our sales director or COO, be in conversations on how you are pivoting in industry times, and when everything else is shrinking around us, and we're still just massive, trying to grow massively. Just how we're doing that, and all the things that are intertwined with running a company. And for me to be able to listen to all that stuff, and to be a part of it too, to actually make key decisions is even more grateful, right? But just being in the room.
That's a cool concept. I think I chase experiences, right? I mean, that's probably one of my notes. I want memories, I want experiences, but to twist that and chase experience. I mean, you're getting that with experiences, but I mean, just as you're younger, if you're thinking about that, just get in the room, chase experience, get the knowledge, right? And that just compounds on itself,
If you're young, just chase the experience.
Yeah.
Just the experience of, seeing how people do things, like, Corey Underwood was our first manager or whatnot, at the time when I first got there. And so when he was training my start class, it got to the point where I started taking notes on how Corey was managing us and how he was running our meetings. And so when people would ask a question, how he would respond and interact with us, things he would do if someone was, we needed to put the pressure on somebody, and how he would show, KPIs and numbers and things of that nature. I started to, and he knows this, and I've told him before, but yeah, I started to take notes on how he was doing things.
Yeah.
Because I was just chasing that experience, wanting to learn, and I wanted to be in his position too. So, so it's the experience. Is like I crave that, and the learning.
I like
part
it.
is big. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: what's your experience like on your sales team? Right. I mean, I know y'all have not exactly how y'all do it, but I can imagine there's some recruiting, and there's some you want to get good people on your team. Like, what's if you had to get a sales pitch or an experience pitch on what it's like being on your team, what does that look like for somebody on your team?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So feel free to be as cocky as you want, or as humble as you want. Yeah, it's a safe space, Yeah.
No, that's such a good question. We have 3 words that we live by on the team, and it's relentless, hyper-focused. Maybe that's 3 words, but relentless, hyper-focused, and humble. Those are the 3 words. And so that was us all last year, and especially going into this year, but all last year, our team hit goal 11 out of the 12 months. Nice. You know that, and in a time where everything around us was shrinking in the industry. And so we have some of the most top producers on the team. Over half the team is qualified to go to the elite incentive trip for the sales that we're going in a couple days.
Oh yeah, Cabo baby, it's going to be a good time.
So we have a fantastic team, and they're just amazing. Like they're just extremely hardworking. They work so hard. They're always humble in their process. We've never had, like with this group of individuals, we've never had any people issues. They're always honest and asking questions and owning it. And they understand difficult conversations will happen. And that's a part of the growth part.
Yeah.
That's part of learning and getting past it and moving forward and executing. So our team is really fun. But it's not for everyone, I'll be honest. So what I mean by that is some people come in and they start immediately seeing the amount of performance that's happening on the team.
Also, the expectations.
I tell people, I've started to tell people up front now that I'm going to push you a little harder than probably any other team, out there right now. And the reason why is because we've built a reputation on its own of being really good at what we do, being really consistent, dedicated to what we do. And so I tell people up front, when they first join the team, and they're excited about it, and they learn everybody, and no one's rude on the team. Everyone's really welcoming. And so that's also, I think people get caught off by surprises. There's a stereotypical, the top dogs in sales are
jerks and not, yeah.
That's nowhere the case. And hell's for sure there is, but not this company.
Not here. We all room for it. Check the ego at the door.
100%. Producer that won't reach out to a JC or a rookie, get on a Zoom without telling anybody and help them out. Don't have people on my team able and willing and doing that currently, which is great. So, yeah, relentless, hyper-focused, and humble. That's kind of the morale of our team and some of the things that we live by.
I love it. That's a good way to wrap it up, man. I mean, it sums up your experience on your team. So any of y'all looking to get on Myrick's team, that's the expectation. Top dogs. I mean, I'm sure that 1 month miss killed you. I'm sure it hurt. Couple of percent. Oh yeah. And my great takeaway was chase experiences, man. It's awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time, and guys, keep chasing experiences.
Absolutely.